Hello, everybody, and welcome to this ShareFile Experts webinar. We hope you're having a great Tuesday so far and are so happy to have you here. I'll go ahead and pass it off to John.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into it. Again, today we're going to be concentrating mostly on our desktop applications and other applications that we actually have to help you kind of fulfill that experience with ShareFile. Some of you might be just very familiar with just using the website, but we have a ton of different applications and different advances where it could actually help you get things done faster with ShareFile outside of the web itself. So always like to start out with a thank you. Appreciate everyone joining today, and again, appreciate everyone just keeping with ShareFile as we continue to kind of advance and provide a great experience for, of course, our clients. So again, thank you so much for attending. All right, so it's time for the demo. So as I said, I'm going to just quickly start out with looking at some information about our user management tool, or if you've ever heard of it, it's abbreviated as UMT. The user management tool is a lightweight application that can run on a Windows server that can talk to your Active Directory. Mostly this will interact with just your Microsoft on-premise Active Directory. Hopefully in the near future, we'll have this expand out to like if you're using Azure to help onboard users a lot easier. But the user management tool is great to have, again, if you are in that Active Directory environment and you want an easy way to get all your users onboarded at once instead of having to manually do it. This is just one way of actually performing that capability. It's, again, a free download, comes with, of course, your subscription and your entitlement. So again, check this out. It's a very cool tool just to get you going very quickly with ShareFile and getting your users onboarded. And then we have our ShareFile migration tool. This is when we have, of course, a lot of people that have tons and gigs of data that we're trying to upload to ShareFile, so we can start utilizing ShareFile for what it is. Migration tool will help you actually move those files over to us into your respective storage zone. And this will allow you to just pretty much check and choose which files you want locally to be transferred up. So there's a lot of great advantages of using the migration tool. You can tell it to schedule a migration so that you can do it in off hours, so not to disrupt anything. But definitely check this out again if you're starting out with ShareFile and you're looking to easily move data into, again, your respective storage zone. This is a tool to look at first amongst any others that we have. I will pass it over to Tepe. He's going to go ahead and start sharing his screen so we can jump into the Outlook plugin. Tepe?
Thanks, John. All right, let me see if I can switch this over to me. So let me get started by going over the Outlook plugin or the Citrix files for Outlook. You can go into citrix.com and do the download section on that website and download the Citrix files for Outlook. Now, Citrix files for Outlook is only going to be for Outlook on Windows. We have both a .exe and a .msi installer. Now, for most people, you're just going to use this top version, the .exe version. The MSI installer is for any administrators that want to do a push install to all their users' machines. And yeah, the Citrix files for Outlook, it's a great tool for sending out files securely through Outlook. Especially if you are concerned about your Exchange servers getting bloated with a lot of files and attachments, the Citrix files for Outlook is a great way to cut down on that storage. Now, once you have it installed, what you're going to see is in the top right, you'll see this ShareFile icon. And when you click on it, it's going to ask you to install the application, or not install the application, log into the application. I've already logged in here, but you'll see all these settings in here. And in here, you're going to see things like the general settings. So if you hit edit here, you'll see the attachment size for automatically converting attachments in Outlook. You'll also have a option to show icons for any attachments associated with ShareFile, and then also the the link expiration time. And then if we go on to the attaching file section, this is going to be for sending files securely. And you'll have different security levels that you can have. So for example, I have just requiring a name and email address for now, but you can do such as requiring a login. You can also do the number of access or number of downloads for a file, and providing the latest version of a file, and letting you know when the file's been accessed. The request files section, that's going to be similar to the send file section too. It's basically for whenever you want someone to upload a file to ShareFile for you. And then you can also select the upload location. Upload location is going to be the file box by default. And then if you have sensitive content in your email itself, you can also send encrypted emails to your recipients. And again, this one is going to have name and email requirements or just a login requirement, as well as a link expiration. And then the last one is inserting links, the style at which links are inserted into the Outlook plugin. Okay, before I go through here, I want to show you how to use the tool. So if you go into new email, you're going to see the email options here on the left-hand side. And then you're also going to see the attach files, request files, and then the initiate workflows here. So if you wanted to attach files, you have the option from PC or from Citrix. So from Citrix, if you do the little arrows here, you can do the custom settings, right? So it's going to show you the default settings that you had initially on the main menu. But if you needed to do custom settings, you can always do it through here as well too. And then when you hit OK, they'll let you select the file you want. So I'm going to go ahead and send this offer letter to gmail.com. Okay, and then I'll send that off. So now that went really quickly, but you will see this the upload progress for the file under the options menu. It moves the file into the outbox temporarily and then sends it out. So if we go to the Gmail side, you'll see the file I got sent, and I click on it and I proceed. Okay, and then I need to provide my contact information. Let's see, Rudolph. Reindeer. Oh.
We know you can really spell Rudolph.
Live forever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then so there's my offer letter. All right. So let's go back here. Where did it go? Where's that one? All right. So that was sent out. Now I also want to show you how you initiate a workflow. So same thing. I'm going to just type in my email address here, and then initiate workflow. This is for if you want to do approval or feedback on a document. So if I go browse file, I can do, let's see, signature, offer letter here. And then you should see the option to do get approval, get collect feedback, and a due date. And then when you hit done here next, it's going to show you two informations here. The receiving party, the to section, that's going to be who is the approvers on the document. The CCs are going to be viewers on the document. And then if I hit send, go back here. No, it's just taking a minute. There it is. Okay, and then so if I click on the link, you can see the content of the document. And then I'll create a preview of your document and comments that you can make on the right hand side. That's it for the Outlook plugin. John, I think this is where you would take over. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So that was great, Tepe. Thank you, because that was awesome. Kind of demonstrate just how quickly you could create those shares and send them out through Outlook. And just like Tepe said, you know, this is a really a big game changer when we're talking about if you're using Exchange and you're passing a lot of attachments. That Outlook plugin can save you a ton of space because we're not actually sending an attachment, right? We're actually just sending an actual share link. So that's a great power of Outlook and the plugin itself. So now we're going to skip over to Citrix Files. Citrix Files for the desktop is our one and all kind of, if you will, network drive, so you can access files directly through Windows Explorer. Very similar to the Outlook plugin. You can just go to our citrix.com download page. We're going to kind of showcase some of those apps after, where to kind of look for those as well. But requirements are pretty much the same. You do also have an EXE and an MSI. So again, if you're an administrator and you manage deployments of applications, you can easily use the MSI deployment to send that out to your users to get that installed. Just wanted to show some of the actual application settings that are available for Citrix Files when you first start it up. If you could take over, Tepe, just showcase, if you could go bring open the settings in the system tray for Citrix Files, and I can take it from there. Yeah. So we're going to right click, and we're going to go to settings. All right, so once you have this installed, first thing, what it's going to do is, just like the Outlook plugin, it's going to prompt you for your username and password. First off, it is going to ask you for your domain, of course, your ShareFile domain. So again, it would be something like my domain would be johnbartel.sharefile.com. If you don't know your actual domain for ShareFile, definitely reach out to your administrator or your manager and just be sure you have the right one. But then it's going to ask you for your ShareFile credentials, or you could actually utilize your single sign-on if you have that established on ShareFile to get logged in. Once you're logged in, you can go into the settings here, and you can do a couple different things here. First off, at the top, as you can see here, we could tell it to launch on startup for Windows. We could, of course, sign out of our username if we needed to, because this will only allow you to have one user logged in at a time. So if you are you have the ability to use two separate ShareFile accounts, this will only utilize the one ShareFile account. So if you need to relog into a different one, you can simply log out here. You could reset the app if you're having any kind of strange behavior, if there's folders not showing up. Good thing, of course, as troubleshooting is just to come in and do a reset for the application right there. And another thing, by default, our drive letter that we choose, so it displays on Windows Explorer, is the S drive. And Tepe, if you could see, you drop that down, and you could choose other letters if you wanted to. Any that are available on the machine itself. Shouldn't overwrite anything that you actually have, but just be cautious of that when you're, of course, you're setting your drive letter. And then finally there, you have your drive space. So, you know, as it kind of notates here, the application will store some cached files locally. So if there is a reason you need to clean up that cache or anything like that, it's really good to actually click that free up space just to clear up any kind of unused cache that's been kind of sitting there. Other than that, I'm going to put this back over to Tepe, and I'm going to jump back in to show you guys some of the things like offline files and the ESignature Flow and also GPOs. But Tepe is going to take over and start showing a bit about just how we do link creation through this, just like we did in Outlook.
Great, thanks, John. All right, so for link creations, it's pretty simple. So I have a folder saved in my favorites here called Signature, and you know, there's a few ways you can do this. So if you wanted to do just an entire folder, You also have the option to generate a link for the folder itself. You do get a link, and then again here in the edit link options, you have similar features like the Outlook plugin had, with the watermarking, the anonymous downloads or the sign-in required, as well as when the link expires and when the number of files you are allowed to download. All right, so we also want to show you how you initiate workflows for this. Again, right-click on the file, and you'll see more under the share option, you'll see initiate workflows. And you'll type in the email, set a due date. You can change whether it's approval or feedback. Anyone that is listed on the CC is going to be, again, a viewer on the document. And then you can add a little message in there as well. And then hit start workflow. So when you do that, it's going to send an email over to that user. And it's going to look really similar to what we had earlier. So and there you go. So same thing. If we hit on this, it's going to open another tab. Ask for my name, Rudolph, if I can spell. And there you go. And it shows me the content just like earlier. All right, last thing I wanted to show you with the Citrix files is a feature called check-in, check-out. So, you know, whenever I'm working on a document, I want to make sure that nobody else is making edits to the file. So what I can do is I can lock the file by right-clicking on it, and then I can do checkout. So this is going to check out the file for 24 hours or until I check the file back in. So you get a little red icon notifying you that the file's been locked. And during that time, I can make modifications to the file. Hit save. And then after that, you can check back in the file like that.
Citrix File has an awesome feature called offline files, which allow you to keep basically a copy of a document you're working on within Citrix File. So perfect scenario would be if you're about to board a plane, you're going to lose Wi-Fi, you're going to lose internet. You know, you could easily set a file to be offline and have it so that you could work on the file until you regain internet access. So it will resync back up to ShareFile with the latest edits. And then, Tepe, if you want, we want to also check the managing the ability to see your offline files. So if we right-click on the ShareFile icon or the Citrix Files icon on the bottom right, right-click and then Manage Offline Sync. This is a great place so that if you were, say, having multiple files or folders, if you will, of offline files, you could simply actually check these off and make them available offline. So this will, again, basically cache that document. So while you work on it, you don't have access to the internet, so we're not communicating to ShareFile directly. We're able to, again, make those edits, and then once we're ready to get back online, it'll sync back up. But if you ever wanted to manage those, you want to see what is offline, you could simply go to that option and choose again, and be sure to manage those offline files. All right. All right, so let's go into our ESignature flow. So if you're familiar with ESignature, or what's called Right Signature, it's the ability to utilize the option to sign a document digitally. We've recently kind of updated the Citrix Files application to be able to provide this option. So if, say for instance, we just again wanted to get a quick letter sign, say we're onboarding somebody, it's an offer letter like we have here, all we need to do is right click on the offer letter and then send for a signature. And then this will pop up the actual web interface for Right Signature directly. While this loads, just a couple caveats here, of course. Right Signature is an add-on. It does come with certain packages of ShareFile. So if you don't see that option, it could be two things. It's either you don't have Right Signature added to your instance, or of course your administrator hasn't given you a license for Right Signature. So if it's one of these and this sounds interesting to you, definitely reach out to your administrator, or if you're an administrator yourself and you're interested in, of course, getting ESignature added to your instance, definitely reach out to your sales rep with Signature ShareFile, and we'll get you settled with that. So right off the bat here, as you can see, what it's going to first ask is what is, or who is the person that we're going to actually get signed here or need a signature from. So we're going to use Mr. Rudolph here again. And then we're going to use a Gmail account that we're using for testing purposes. All right, and you do have the options to add additional signers, if you will, and also add yourself. For this demonstration, we're going to bypass that and just go over to place our fields. And there we go. We have our nice offer letter. And the first thing we want to do, and what I like to do, is enable the field detection. So what field detection does is, if we scroll down a little bit, we will actually see the fields for, of course, the printed name, the signature, and the date. So what Right Signature will try to do is it will try to align the best possible in terms of that field. But as you can see, what Tepe is doing here is he's adjusting this so that it's a little bit more conform to the field itself. But as you can see, we're on the right-hand side. We're requesting these different fields. So we have the we have the signature field, and then we could have a text field, and we have our date field. So those are the three we're going to add there. And again, as you can see, it did a good job, but it's a little too big, so we'll try to conform. And there we go. So next, we're going to just review. And as you can see here, we do have a couple other options. First, we have the recipient, so we're going to send this over to Rudolph. We could also CC people, so if somebody just wants to be involved and see, like, hey, maybe it's you're signing for a mortgage or something, you want to have your lenders in there, you could CC people into it just to see those documents being completed. You could add a personalized message. We could expire this document so they can't sign it after a particular amount of days. We can add a passcode. We could turn a KVA on. We're actually going to get into KVA in a later demonstration of Right Signature. And then finally, we could add a tag so that we can easily search this document later on. So for this purpose, we're just going to send the document. And off it goes. So this is a great page to see like what is actually happening on the right-hand side. So we can see the overview. And if you go click on history real quick, Tepe, we'll see a history of everything that's transacting on the document itself. Well, of course, as you see a few seconds ago, Tepe sent this out. It shows, of course, what computer, its IP address, stuff like that. If we go back over to overview, then we'll see, of course, the security settings that we actually set in place. So we could change some of those things also if we did screw up, or we could also manage the people that should be involved in this. And also, we can actually tell Rudolph, say for instance, he hasn't signed it in 29 days. We want to send a reminder because that 30th day is coming up before it expires. We can send a reminder email to make sure he signs this. So Tepe, if you can, go in and get into the Gmail account for Rudolph, and then we could actually see what it looks like coming onto the customer side. There we go. So Right Signature, as you can see, it tells us we have the offer letter. I need to go review and sign. This will open up a new window, and this is exactly what the client will see. This is the interaction that they'll actually notice when they're actually opening this up. So as you can see, there's a little red marker, and if you click on that marker, that'll take you right down to the spots they need to sign. As you see, Tepe is just filling out his printed name. As we renamed Tepe Rudolph. And then we have his signature. You could also choose the type, or you could actually do it with your mouse, if you will, if you had that. I prefer the typing option just because it's just simple enough and it's easy to read. And then we have our date. There we go. Perfect. And then submit the signature. This is just telling you, just to be sure, of course, policies and privacy, of course, information. But other than that, as you can see, it's executed, it's done, ready to go. Now, if we actually go over to our original right signature option there, or actually perfect, we can actually go there too, is we could have the certificate to showcase everything that has been done with the document itself, when it was signed, a lot of the audit information, and you also have a QR code so that you have a reference number. That reference number also, if there's any issue with the signed document, you can always call into support and reference that number, and they'll be able to actually see that document on the back end, be sure everything is going good. And then finally, you have the history. This will give you, of course, what happened throughout the document signing process. So it'll give you, again, an overview of what's actually happening and when it happened. All right, perfect. So that's it for the ESignature Flow. So again, utilize that. If you have right signature, definitely start using that with signature files. Again, it's a simple, really easy way to kick off that document signing capability and get something signed right away. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to show you is to go over group policy objects. So for those that who are not familiar with group policies, this is more of a Windows administration side. Group policies allow them to set user and computer level permissions for users. So if you're used to having, of course, a work solution where you're coming in and you see certain things turned on and off in Windows, that's typically what your Windows administrator will do with GPOs to set certain aspects, like our application here, to conform to their own policies. So for GPOs, again, people that are understanding of this, and really GPOs probably aren't going to be used with under 100 user setups. Typically, you're going to see this more in enterprise and commercial. But once you actually are ready to use GPOs, you can set various things for Citrix files so that you can scope that out for all of your users and your computers. So we do have the definitions for the GPOs on our website. Again, that's on our download page. We'll show you the download page at the end. But from here, once we actually import it, we'll just drop it into the Windows policy folder. And once we're actually in, we can actually go over to the computer and the user configuration. So let's go over the computer configuration first, Tepe. And we'll show you some of the policies that are capable with using Citrix files. So I won't go through each of these in detail. Obviously, these are pretty straightforward in what they can actually do. A couple of them that I'd love to actually see here is, first off, disabling your tutorial. If you're used to having people already go through the tutorial, we can disable the tutorial. Those are the things which will pop up when you're going through the application for the first time. So we can do things like disable the tutorial. We can actually have it so that it clears cache from Citrix files when you log out of your user. You do have the ability to enable the offline access. So the offline capability, like we showed, we could actually disable that function if you didn't want that available for your users. And also things like being able to totally disable the application. There's an option there for enable application, which you could actually disable so they're unable to actually use it. So there's some restriction capabilities that you can actually play with it. Just a note here before we get over to the user configuration, the computer configuration, you'll see some identical options in the user configuration. Typically, the computer configuration GPOs will take precedence over the user configuration. So let's go over to that, the user configurations. There's a couple other important ones I want to showcase. All right, so again, you'll see some of the other functionality as the same, kind of like the, again, enable application. The big points I love to highlight here is your mounting points. The mount points are great because what you could do is you could have not just your S drive, right? Just like we kind of showed you, you have your one S drive to access all of your folders. But say, for instance, you want to create another drive so that it goes directly to a certain folder that you work on, or a connector. You could actually set that up here so you have various different mount points so that your users can go directly to those folders without having to navigate or drill down to the different folders. We do have something called favorites that are built in, but the mounting points is just another way of getting to the data that they're constantly using on a daily basis. So you have a lot of fun points in terms of creating these different mount points. but definitely take a look. As you can see, Tepe brought it up. We have a nice help section there to kind of guide you through and the examples of what to put in those mount points. So as you can see, if you're used to using some of our third-party connectors like OneDrive or Box, Dropbox, stuff like that, you can actually connect that mount to directly get to that connector. So we'll go through connectors in the later webinar. We've been meaning to actually go through a lot of those connectors and what they can actually do for you. But we just wanted to showcase here what these GPOs have the capability of doing and how you can control and manage Citrix files, again, in a more Windows managed environment. Perfect. We're getting up the time here, but one last point, I did say we'll sprinkle in a little bit of the Mac side. The Mac application for Citrix files works pretty similar. The only differences is right now you don't have the ability for the offline files, and you don't have the ability for using the ESignature or the send for signature. We are producing that. That is something probably that's going to come in later in form, but definitely right now through the Mac application for Citrix files, you might see some differences in between. All right, Tepe, did I miss anything? Anything else we wanted to cover over before I handed it back to you?
No, I think that's it.
All right, great. So Tepe is going to wrap up things with just showcasing a couple of our other tools we couldn't get to today, but just to make sure that you're aware of them, because I think these are definitely noteworthy. And if you use some of these tools, like again, Gmail, Teams from Microsoft, we do have some other applications and integrations. So I'll pass it back to you, Tepe.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so quickly, I just wanted to mention that we do have plugins for the browsers as well. So we have a Gmail plugin that provides sending and receiving functions. We also have a Office 365 plugin for Outlook. Same kind of deal there. It does very rudimentary sending of files and requesting files. For the Gmail one, it's going to be just a Chrome. It's on the Chrome extension store. And for the Office 365 one, it's going to be an app installed on your Office 365 environment. And then we also have a Teams integration. We have an app for Citrix files, so you can access your files really quickly here. To install it, you'll just go into your apps section here and then search for ShareFile. And again, you'll see it there.
So while we do Q&A, you could go ahead and scan those. It's pretty similar, again, for what you've pretty much seen in terms of functionality. But again, mobile apps are great for on the go. But definitely, if you want, scan that with your phone's camera and get the apps and log in just like you would just with our Windows application. Other than that, I think, Allison, I believe you're up to bat in terms of doing Q&A.
Yeah, so a couple of quick questions in the webinar about how Citrix files, quote unquote, is confusing in a lot of our tools, and that actually is under review with our product team right now, trying to get everything cohesive and kind of back to the ShareFile name so that people don't get super confused, even people that work here. Okay, ooh, there's a lot of questions. So 2 link questions. One, how to add the ShareFile link to a Gmail email signature for requesting files.
Yeah, for the Gmail one, what you could do is create a request link that never expires. Let me see if I can bring up something real quick on my side here.
You can always, let's see, I think you can do it through the web application too. If you go through the web portal, you can always renew those links.
There's a couple different ways of doing this. But if you created a request link, say for instance, you wanted to just go in your file box, or of course you could edit this to go to another location, just go to link options, and you could tell the link to never expire. So this again is requesting people to upload. So you could actually create that link there and get a link. And then you could basically paste this, copy that and paste that into your signature for Gmail, Outlook, anything you actually have. So just a quick way of just doing that in terms of doing a request link that never expires.
And John, while you're in there, are you able to just quickly show them the inbox?
Yes.
And go to your sent section and just kind of show them how like you can select the link and
So for here, what you could actually do, so we have, this is one that I sent out. It was a signature document. You could do it, as you can see, if I check mark that, you could do a couple different options here as resend it out. You could expire the link if you wanted to, if it's never expiring. As you can see, this one is set to never expire. But I could actually edit the message options. And then from here, you could change the download access expiration from here. So if I had it set to never, I wanted to come in here, I'm like, oops, I never wanted it to be out there forever. I could come back in and have it after, say, a year. And then also I could change the amount of downloads. If I did, again, a mistake on the amount of downloads, I wanted to limit that user to access that document, I could do that as well. And then you do have the notification option so that when they do access that file, you'll be notified by email.
yeah, and then so any links that you send out through the tools like Outlook plugin or the Citrix files for Windows or Mac, it's all going to be showing up inside your inbox like this.
Delia, this one might be for you. We're comparing Adobe Sign and asking, in obtaining signature, what's the maximum size of the file or number of pages that you can send? And Darlene, to answer your other ESignature question about the Citrix Files integration, right now it's only Windows where you can right click and send for signature. It's coming soon in the Mac Citrix Files. And hopefully by the end of this year, we'll see it in there. And then Maria, I see you're having trouble finding the Citrix Files for Gmail plugin. I'll have to get you a direct link to install that, and I can follow up with you on that, but I see you. Okay.
So Right Signature supports documents less than 2,000 pages and less than 20 megabytes.
So 2,000 pages or 20 megabytes are the limits for that. Ooh, lots of questions come in. And then when a doc is signed, does it automatically send a notification and add to the folder it was sent from? We have client folders, so just wondering if it gets added there.
If you initiate the signature workflow from that particular folder in ShareFile, then what will happen is when the file is signed and executed, then a copy will go back to that folder. However, while it's in that interim stage or pending, you won't see anything except for that original PDF or document file being there that you had sent out.
Can we sync one folder on ShareFile to one shared network drive, Tepe?
I would not recommend it. Yeah, with Citrix Files, it's best to use it with a local drive. The only instances where I've seen it used with I guess a network drive is if you're using it in such like a Citrix environment, like a Citrix virtual apps and desktop environment.
Yeah, I'll second that.
There was a clarification about the inbox thing. So if you go to send items through the web portal and you click resend, will it generate a new link so the old link won't work anymore, or is it just reactivating that existing link? Or how is that working?
I believe that reactivates that same link. We are actually improving the way shares are created. So in the near future, you're going to see some changes in terms of how to manage shares and links in general. So you'll have a better beat on what you actually have out there in terms of links, but that should use the same share that you actually had in terms of doing the resend.
For Laurel's question, therefore requiring sign-in, if you've already sent a file as an anonymous download, you're going to have to resend it. So you're going to have to first revoke access to the link and then resend it, because ShareFile needs to know that you sent an email to that user.
Yeah, and you can just like right click and expire it
Yeah.
from that same send message.
If you're using the Outlook plugin, there's also an option to revoke access from Outlook. Let me answer Ozzy's last question here too. So
Yes.
Ozzy was asking about basically folder redirection to like the desktop, documents, and downloads. With the Citrix Files application, we have a new feature called folder redirection, and you can do redirection of like your personal items to Citrix Files. So now that is now supported.
Yeah, that's a new feature. So yes, exciting to have that feature.
Yep.
Good call, Tepe. Well, thank you, Tepe. Thank you, John. Thank you, special guest Delia, and everybody for coming. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.